All right. Let's get into it. I think a lot of people already arrived, and if a few more come in, they will catch up. Good morning, everyone. My name is Pavel. I'm a co-founder of Meiro. We are a customer data company. And today I have in this series of talks with interesting industry thought leaders, great opportunity to share with you a conversation and thoughts of Gandhi Nader. Gandhi is a Dubai-based AWS CX partner lead for the EMEA region based out of Dubai. Gandhi, we'll do this as kind of our usual format. So you will have a little bit of a presentation and share your thoughts with us.
Sure.
I will introduce a tiny bit of Meiro as well, because there's a lot of new people here today, just after you, and then we'll hop into Q&A. So a little bit of housekeeping. Please do pop your questions into the Q&A or into chat. If you have any, I'll sort through them and I'll pick them up later in the Q&A part. So definitely stay for that. So Gandhi, before I hand it over to you, maybe share with us a little bit of your kind of experience and your story. I think one of the things that might catch people's eye here is that AWS isn't exactly known for customer experience, and I think if you ask most people, they will understand it's servers company and it's a managed databases company, but not really CX, and it's not really typical for AWS to be selling necessarily to CMOs teams in past at least. So how is that changing? What's kind of your mandate in AWS?
You are completely on spot, Pavel. Actually, it's still weird, like when I introduce myself as CX partner lead or CX architect in AWS. But we know that one of our core values is we work backwards from our customer needs, right? And when it comes to CX and CMO workloads, we need to bring this SMEs to the table as well. So we get used to speak with CIOs and CTOs and talking about with IT leaders around infrastructures, around workloads. Now we are adding this about customer experience, MarTech and AdTech as well, to bring this knowledge to the table. To answer the second part as well about the experience, what I do in my day-to-day business, actually, I lead the CX partnership motion in EMEA. So I'm working with software vendors, with agency consulting partners in the AdTech, MarTech side of the business, help them to innovate with AWS services.
Fantastic.
So that's all the day-to-day activities. Yeah.
So let's not waste more time here. Why don't you go ahead with the presentation? And again, reminder for everyone, Q&A or comments for your questions, and I'll pick them up and I'll ask Gandhi on your behalf in the second half of the call today.
Sure.
So over to you.
Let's kick off. So always I try to start with the business opportunity here we have on the table when it comes to the customer experience. And if we look about the opportunity here, let me share with you some compelling data here. This is from the BCG Personalization Index. We are talking about around $2 trillion of opportunity across different sectors that drive customer experience in general. And definitely that's one of the goals of the conversation here around personalizations and compliance as well. So when we are talking about the opportunity of $2 trillion here on the tables, this is across different domains. You will see different distribution. For example, retail banking is taking around $0.6 trillion of customer experience opportunity. So what that means like organizations and companies that will focus more on customer experience, they will able to advance more in their market shares. And that personalization, it's not anymore a nice to have. It's as a features anymore. It's more like a crucial competitive differentiator for all organizations. We need to understand that at the first stage. And we know that when you are investing in any stack, whether you are building or you are buying a solution in the CX domains, usually you go through a business assessments within your organizations. That's why we need to understand the opportunity. This exercise is needed to understand, like, if I implement this solution, how much money, how much ROI I'm doing here. So this is what we see in the market around the CX opportunity on the tables. Now, I want to shape this conversation also and shift around how also the IT leaders are reacting to that. There's an very interesting insights around the pivot of CIOs and how their role are evolving to become more customer-centric in their approach, and also how they are able to, in general, for IT leaders to work closely with the line of business. So more than 60% of IT leaders, they are increasing collaboration with line of business, CMOs, as an example here, and they are willing to also innovate with the products and service teams. So it's not only about infrastructure, as I said earlier, or about having all the day-to-day operations there. We know that to build your differentiate in the market, specifically in the CX domain, we need cross-team collaboration between the different C-suites, specifically between CIOs, CTOs, and the CMOs. But also I want to share some interesting numbers around the AI evolution here that we are witnessing in today's world. I've seen it on my day-to-day operations, and also it's very visible here in this reports. Around 80% of CIO are exploring AI addition to their technology stacks. They are implementing use cases, mainly focused on operation efficiencies. Agentic AI will speak about this trends as well, and also how they are making the data accessible for line of business to achieve this use case. So we're talking about agentic AI. If you're building a chatbot to enhance customer experience, this required certain data access, for example, for knowledge bases. This is how the collaboration should be across teams. And now I will talk about the megatrends that we see. This year's, we have three main pillars of megatrends that are visible on the radar for us. We'll start with the data gravity, and this is still a trend for years because the data is a bread and butter for personalizations, and even if you are running any AI or generative AI workloads, data is a core for all these pipelines of use cases. So let's focus more on, in the CX world, on eliminating silos, unifying all data, trying to deliver a better customer experience. So, it's all about bringing all your customer data points together and able to have a meaningful interactions with your customers. What that allows you, once you have this data gravity megatrends, is the hyper-personalization as the next step. And that's also part of the CX strategies that we'll discuss. So that focuses more on how you can deliver growth, whether you are retaining your customers or you are targeting prospecting for new customers through hyper-personalizations. And here, I'm not talking about personalizing by name or by certain attributes on the profile of the customers. I'm talking about use case that we are reaching a stage where we have one-to-one personalization. Like I can have an audience of 100,000 customers where I'm sending emails, and we have different variations of emails or push notification or WhatsApp for every customer based on their behavior, on our experiences, as well on their profile attributes. And definitely the last megatrend is the agentic AI. We cannot miss on that. What I've seen is in the last couple of weeks, I was experiencing some technological advancements that I've seen agents build in week time, and I believe that will change the way how we are dealing with platforms as marketeers and also as customers. So that will enhance the operation efficiency, automation, but also add intelligence to the stack here. So I believe in a short time, we will have a large number of agents coming out, and a lot of experiences, points, and clicks will shut down and be replaced by agents. So those are the mega trends that are shaping the CX strategy that we will discuss. For this year's, on the CX side, we defined the strategy and we give it a name as modernize to personalize. So in 2024, we started with what we call data-driven CX narrative. And now we are shifting toward modernization, something that we get used to speak about in AWS, but in the context now of customer experience, you need to have a modern marketing stack and able to personalize and deliver a delighted customer experience. And some people will ask now, why, like, talking about that in the angle of AWS. In the next section, I will try to address that. And we see this topic coming out and out more: build versus buy, right? This is the core of the conversation when we are talking as AWS or with line of business, like, usually CTOs, as you said, CIOs. Why I'm talking with CMOs right now, and we know that there's different appetites between building your marketing stack or your tech stack in general and buying certain technology off shelves. And what we believe is not or, it's always and. So the tyranny of or versus the genius of and, that's what we call. And this means that building your CX stack, you don't have to choose between either you building or you are buying a pre-made solution. Instead, AWS provides the flexibility to do both. You can leverage the AWS services whenever needed, when you see differentiator in the markets, and then you have the AWS partners landscape that help you to deliver faster time to market without any building phases here. It's also give or more this approach freedom for the customers to combine best of words of the services and partners, and that's always provide flexibility and choice for our customers, and that's what we believe in it. The modernize to personalize here, we focus also on the 3 pillars, the data foundations, and I will share shortly what we call the maturity curve assessments for organizations. Data foundation is at the core. We always go to the block number 1. If you don't have good quality of data, you cannot modernize and you cannot automate. So talking about data, I'm talking about data management, I'm talking about data collections, and also cataloging this data. Then you can modernize, personalizing, hyper-personalizations, able to implement your loyalty systems, customer engagement platforms, as well as CDP. We'll talk about that in details. And then you can go optionally, depends on the use case, on the automation level, that leveraging agentic AIs and AI in general right now, where you can leveraging AI in use cases such as content creations as well as customer services. And always you see at the bottoms, all these pillars are supported by AWS partners and AWS services, giving flexibility to the customers. This is also represented in the CX maturity curve. I like to call that a maturity curve, but it's just a progress. So we have the CX maturity on the horizontal and data maturity on the verticals. And you see, as you grow in terms of building your stack, you get more mature in terms of the frameworks and able to deliver more and more use cases. Starting by the data foundations, we have 2 main pillars within the data foundations. Data collections. If you have experiences, touch points with your customers that you are missing in, then you are missing on this data, you are missing on getting more insights, understanding better your data. But data collection is about building this whole pipeline of data, able to drive them within your data environment, whether you are building your data lakes, data warehouse, or you are using off-the-shelf technology. And then you have the data management layer. This is where you are trying to build your single source of truth about your customers. Once you secure this data foundations, we move to stage number 2. This is where you start to do modernizations. For marketeers, we know that marketeers are focused on buying versus building, and that's not a something that we see it as a drawback, because we know that marketeers, they want to go faster to the markets. So we're talking about 4 pillars here that leverage modernization, such as technology, AWS services, or AWS partners, where we have customer data management and intelligence. And here we're talking mainly about CDP, the likes of the partnership that we have with Meiro, where you are able to unify the view of your customers by leveraging the data foundations that you have built earlier. Then we're talking about orchestration, about cross-channel orchestrations, using your customer engagement platform, marketing automation platforms, content creations and management. When you are dealing with your customers, whether you are activating or you are developing personalization within the experience, like on-site, you need to create contents and able to manage this content through the content creations and management tools. Last but not least, the customer services is a layer that we cannot miss. That contact centers, cloud contact centers is a key also in delivering the right customer experience. So this is the modernization stack, but also now we are adding the automation stack that focuses mainly on AI evolutions and the hype that we see in the market to cover also the mega trends that we are seeing. Start by automations across different use cases. We start to see in the software vendors automated use cases for even customer segmentations and enriching customer profiles with contextual data, orchestration agents, automating personalizations and journey decisioning, and as well automation of customer service. Now, I've seen a use case where the deflection rate is very high in the contact centers. Most of the inquiries are solved because of the leveraging of AI knowledge bases and actions. They were able to deal with the problems without even human interactions. So this is what we call the customer maturity frameworks. Usually what we do is an assessment to understand where you are in this journey and what is the best next options for you, whether you are looking for customer data management or for customer journey orchestrations. In the last couple of slides, I want to focus on the customer data management and compliance, because this is our topic for today. This is a challenging topic in the last 5 years. I'm talking about the challenge we still face, even though that we have some evolution that happens, that marketers usually, they want to understand their customers through their data. And to understand their customers, they want to unify them. They want to have a unified view with all the properties, with all the dimensions, so they were able to segment them. But they face many challenges. Here I'm sharing 4 of them. This is the top challenges shared around this topic. We start with the data groups, and we see, like, the data velocity and also the volume is increasing in an exponential way. Around 17 here in this stat, 17 customers facing and channels touch points with your customers. That leads us to the second challenge around data diversity. Now, if you go and try to assess solutions in the market, you will see everyone is trying to propose that they are the single source of truth. But is it right? And that's usually creates silos and fragments. If you go and see certain technologies, they say, like, you don't need to go and build or buy your CDP because we are covering this part. And Pavel, definitely about that topics where you see they believe that they have most of the CDP capability, but that's not the truth. And that leads to silos data and fragmented customer data. And definitely they will never have the complete segments to be able to deliver the right customer experience. We cannot miss on the third parts, which is around the compliance in terms of governance and consents. Now, if you go anywhere, in most of the countries, we have local regulations and data protection laws that are complicating marketers' life when they are building their marketing stack. Where is the data hosted? How you are dealing with it? I'm not a legal person. I cannot speak in detail about that, but I'm a technical person. And I know that in the words of dealing with customer data, this topic is very sensitive, and it needs that you are assessing the right solution that fits your needs, not only from features, but also from maybe data residency, flexibility to control over your data. And also, Pavel, I believe you will share more about that. The last points, it's always a challenge, even though that we know that now Google Chrome is keeping the third-party cookie. it's not an ideal place for building unified profile, the landscape in general, right? So we know that Apple transparency frameworks and we don't have visibility much there. We have high number of opt-out, but also even in the browser experience, now every user can turn off a third-party cookie or go incognitos, and those are now, we have more educated customers. They are able to hide for eliminating tracking, and that's also challenging the identity resolution mechanism that you implement within your organization, and challenge how you are dealing with your customer data to build unified customer profile. So this is just a glance of the challenges that we see in the markets when marketers try to unify their customer data and act on it. Now, how you are addressing that, and how marketeers, or in general how the industry is trying to build around that in terms of customer data management and intelligence for customer 360. We see three main personas here. I will start on the right side with the pink box, the builder heavy. We have on the room Pavel and Meiro CDP. Usually we see building from scratch is ideal for MarTech ISVs and AdTech ISVs in the case of CX here. They are software vendors, they build technologies, and they use large number of AWS services to deliver the use case. They package it as the solutions. They build from bottom up. And we have on the left side, the buyer heavy. And we know that marketeers, advertisers, and publishers, it's not like hidden. They like to go fast to the markets. They don't want to go into technical hurdles. They just need the complete solutions and deliver the use case. They want to deliver their marketing strategy as soon as possible, show value in the organizations. And they look for the solutions. They want to license SaaS and test them and go to the markets. And in the middle, we see a sweet spot for enterprise customers, which is the hybrid composable approach. What that means when I'm saying hybrid and composable, that's go back to the build versus buy, or both of them. We believe in the both of them, or the composable and hybrid approach. When you are building your marketing stack, you need to buy certain technologies because that will advance your strategy at a high velocity. But at the same time, you need to integrate with some services like AWS services to be able to achieve a complex use case. Or maybe you have your data stored in certain technology or certain data storage that you want to integrate it with this technology. So this is where you have this hybrid composable approach. That also applies for digital native brands. And I've seen that agencies, system integrators, GSI, they equip themselves with all this knowledge to deliver use cases in the CX industries, where they bring software vendors, the likes of Meiro, and also AWS services to complete each other or complement each other, delivering the use cases. So this is the approach I see in terms of custom 360 profiles and unified customer data management. And talking about hybrid and composable, Pavel, I will hand it over to you right now. You will give us more detailed view around how Meiro approached this hybrid composable sweet spot for enterprise customers and large organizations.
Thank you, Gandhi. This was super broad and very detailed at the same time. So really good. I've got a few notes here and also a few messages with questions. So I'll save them to the end. Let me take over screen. This doesn't allow us to easily share or control yours. So let me hop into this. You should see a screen now. Perfect. So you've kind of mentioned couple of like important keywords, right? But it's the hybrid composable, I think, is really well capturing what's happening in the CDP place. But kind of basics first. So for the people on the webinar, on the call today, who do not know Meiro, we are a customer data platform category software. We identify specifically as a customer data and experience hub, as some of the CDPs of this world do really end with streaming data into your data warehouse, and that's kind of the old generation of kind of players in this space. We see our job as unifying and activating customer data. Now, customer data is a really broad sense. This could be coming in from pretty much anywhere a user customer in any stage of their life cycle could be interacting with the brand, with the company. I think the one misleading piece that we always have to explain is a little bit the customer, because I think that's tricky. When we look at the type of data that our clients track with CDP, it's often starts with the anonymous web visits, which is if you kind of think of it as a marketing funnel, it would be the upper awareness of the funnel, the first time visitors who haven't authenticated yet, haven't made that purchase yet. And I think because of that volume, if you look at conversion rates of most businesses, that volume of data is much bigger than a traditional CRM or transaction count in a company would be. We have statistics on this, and this data is sometimes easily 100 times bigger. So this adds interesting complexity. So our core job is to collect data from behavioral data from website, mobile apps, but also any other services and data repositories that the client is using. One of the very core components of CDP is identity stitching. We pride ourselves in flexibility, that we are able to extend identity definitions with flexible data model to companies that are not only B2C, but also B2B and group holdings of multiple companies, where we offer a single view of customer across different brands, which is pretty unique capability in this space, but also something that's very important and useful, specifically in the region when we talk about MENA, as a lot of companies are organized as a family or kind of group or conglomerate holdings of multiple brands, when they obviously look for that synergetic effects of those businesses, and how are they able to kind of handle customer from one business to another. When it comes to use cases, this is really quite broad. So CDP is a technology that has an enabling function. So we really touch multiple universes. I think traditionally, and one with sort of if we have to identify the low-hanging fruit, it's always advertising, because I think simply brands and marketers are sort of victims these days to platforms kind of hiking up cost of acquisition. So if your conversion rates and your cost of acquisition hasn't increased in the last 5 years, I would really love to talk to you, because I want to understand how you do business, because it's not difficult to maintain that. So ability to synchronize data, first party segments, rich audiences, kind of those that you touch. Something that I want to come back to later is the identity disintegration and deprecation of the kind of targetable data. That's an important thing, and I think few only know how to measure that properly and how to express that. So advertising is really core use case for CDP. Anyone we've onboarded as a customer has seen significant results, whether that's a cost of reduction of cost of acquisition or improvement of performance with the same budgets, better targeting, better foundational lookalike audiences. We also see a lot of use cases in call centers, specifically in the sales side of it. So ability to identify behavioral patterns from specifically anonymous visitors. So imagine a scenario where you are a banking customer, CDP is tracking you across touch points, and you are suddenly browsing a website and you are looking at a high value product that the bank knows you don't own, but you are clearly interested in. I think there are really clever ways how to insert that information into a call center if you are high net worth or high value target customer, or follow up with a more direct marketing automation if you are lower end customer and tail. So there are use cases for for kind of proactive sales inputs, lead generation, if you will. Call centers typically one of the most successful sales channels for most companies, so that's really useful. And I think naturally the kind of last part would be the journey orchestration, the marketing automation. I think every brand has some level of maturity with this at this point, and I think a lot of them are realizing that they miss the fundamental layer of kind of organized customer data, structured deep insights, and granular information about customer, and they are kind of stuck in the type of journeys that would be something like, you know, downloaded an app and then didn't log in for 14 days. And so here is a push notification, or here's an email, or here's a WhatsApp message, which is a great start, but there's so much more to achieve there, especially when reflecting kind of granular data, and especially when you kind of these days are able to bring into some level of autonomous decisioning via like agentic forces, and those are use cases that are going to be proliferating even more in the future. And you know, you spoke of hyper personalization. I think that's the last trend that's always been here with us in the room. I've seen very few companies implementing this fully, especially when it comes to content, because I think this has ripple effects and issues downstream when, you know, you've been 10 years investing into your web analytics or app analytics, and you've perfected measurement there. Now it's not so easy to tell to the team that measuring your app that the homepage is going to look 100 times different for 100 different people. So that, you know, has the challenges of its own kind of in the broader sense of ecosystem. So those are all use cases that we enable and we power with CDP one way or another. But it's a really powerful tool and technology. One thing that I'd like to bring out, and I think this is where I opened with this question, is how come that AWS is quite suddenly targeting and selling sort of a CMO budget, if you will, because it's been traditionally a very, very IT company, right? And I think we see a similar trend with technology like us. Like you kind of like look at what the customer data platform has in the kind of in the CDP acronym. There's the customer, which is clearly business, and there's the data, which is clearly IT. So there has to be technology that bridges these two departments, and we see this is where we see success when we have strong stakeholders with good vision on both sides of the aisle, and we allow them to work together. In my experience, implementing CDP with businesses across verticals, you know, banking, travel, retail, media, like I see one trend: marketers want structured data and access to it without having to be a technical. Data and IT teams, on the other hand side, want control, transparency, and security. So these are very, very different motivation, and I think we've designed the technology to kind of cater to both sides here. Let me kind of fast forward it a little bit into the hybrid composable, as you sort of hinted at it. I think this is really our really like sweet spot. So composability has been by a few vendors recently like hyped up more in the sense of a data warehouse composability. There's a lot of kind of CDPs that play off of workloads and analytical queries directly in your data warehouse, which is a bit of a I wouldn't call it a hybrid. I would call it more of a Frankenstein style kind of a creation, because there's on one hand proposition of the data never leaving your data warehouse and querying of your database directly, yet you are still using software as a service that is still exporting data even for a fraction of the time somewhere else, and typically out of your legal region, which becomes quite problematic. And of course there's a way of masking data and obfuscating sensitive data, but this feels like you're scratching yourself with the left hand behind the right ear a little bit. So we think that the right approach to this, if there's such a universal thing as a right approach, is that the workload should be going where your data is, and not your data going to the workload, going to the vendor servers at all. I think, you know, software as a service, as a kind of a generation of technological generation, started with something like Salesforce 20 years ago, has kind of created a great movement for democratization. Suddenly, much smaller companies were able to buy for a fraction of cost technology that was always available only on servers, but it created this kind of a security economy where brands are effectively giving away keys from a castle and are sending their sensitive data to the vendor. And sometimes we've seen kind of horror stories of customers like being unable to export everything at once when they want to, even, which is for compliance reasons, for security reasons, that's in my world not acceptable. So what we like better is that when the technology goes to where the data is, and for us that means perfect synergy with something like AWS Marketplace, where Meiro will be launching in a short few weeks, and ability to kind of host Meiro directly within your own cloud infrastructure, in a data center of your choice, fully in your control. So as an end result, no one has to ever have access from Meiro to clients' data. So which is the way it should be, in my opinion, because what else is more sensitive than our clients' customers' data? That's the family heirloom, right? The other thing I think I really like is that there has been the kind of a data warehouse composability argument has been built around kind of zero copy of the data and data never leaving the data warehouse. Funny enough, the companies that have been kind of built on this promise have just recently launched something where they are compensating for lack of real-time processing by basically caching the data on their servers. So they have effectively gone full cycle and are now packaged CDPs that also leverage the data warehouse, which is interesting and kind of showing how imperfect in hindsight this model was, basically. So you're not compromising on use cases, but you're doing something else. But I want to point out one thing. I think for me, what I see with our clients and as we go through different procurement processes is that customers want predictability. At least their budgeting and their compliance and their procurements want predictability of a cost. You cannot get that if there's dynamic part of component, which is queries in your data warehouse. Because if you are unable to express to the vendor exactly what you're going to be doing, which if you're going to be running segments once a day or 7 times a day, that's all going to be making difference into how much you compute. If there is a dynamic component, you will never really be able to express it. We like that with Meiro, the databases are a part of the stack. Therefore, sizing is set. You are able also to use managed services from AWS. Like one of our databases is Postgres, so we can use managed version of Postgres and scale it up and down as you need. And this becomes a really fixed item for predictability. Like we have customers who know exactly what they will be paying 3 years down the line in the contracts with us, and for what data volume that they will be processing, and whether they are running segments once a day or every 5 minutes is not really going to be making any difference. So this is one thing I would really mention here. The other part is a composability with overall AWS kind of universe. So one of our examples is we have a customer who uses QuickSight for BI and for reporting. We have customers who use Redshift for their main data warehouse, and Meiro through its native ETL, which is the part of product called Meiro integration, is providing bidirectional sync with the data warehouse. So we assure that no kind of new customer data, customer profiles created by CDP are only left in Meiro. So kind of really following that zero copy principle to the philosophical dot. And of course, in future, we are looking at how are we integrating with our agentic use cases with the likes of Amazon Bedrock, and we follow a similar principle where you can bring your own keys to your own model. So the processing is again fully in your control, and you are not exporting data, sensitive data somewhere else. So this is really important notion for us. I think important, very unsexy topic, compliance. So we've in this industry in customer data platforms, we always hear about data residency requirements with our customers in countries like the Saudi Arabia. It's very, very clear data. There has been data policy that's been updated in last year, is getting still some updates, and it's very clear that the data has to stay in country. The processing has to be in country. So if you're working with a software that has a EU data center or US data center, you are in legal issues here easily. So kind of looking at compliance as part of a business requirements, I think is really, really important for a lot of businesses, especially in those strong kind of governed locations and countries. Just a little bit of a kind of a preview, a sneak peek of what does it look like inside of a CDP. So I think really the core of everything is a customer single view. As I mentioned, for us, really important function is the ability to see customer cross device, whether they are logged in or whether they are authenticated or not, ability to do this processing in real time. There are real-time use cases, especially when it comes to personalization. Someone hasn't interacted with your brand in 6 months and suddenly are on the website and are interacting with specific assets. You want to recalculate their preferences in real time and make this data available to the same session personalization. So I think this is really important, big opportunity for kind of gains by a lot of brands, and the ability to kind of express the customer identity in any way you want. It's not every business is as simple as some e-commerce where it's a customer and customer has an email address and has a bunch of orders. You have a lot more complex environments. For example, one that we really like for complexity is utilities, where it's not customers, but it's often contracts are the main object, and contracts can have contacts and can have multiple contacts, but multiple contacts can also have multiple contracts. So the ability to kind of describe this customer really well and making sure the communication is being directed to the right contract address, for example, is super important here. And again, not every tool is capable of kind of that flexibility of accommodating this. So think of your customer definition. One thing that we do really well as Meiro is really the cross-brand data synchronization. So single view of customer is a hard enough problem, but single view of customer across multiple brands where they can only share certain subsets of data is that square too. So we do that with multiple brands in multiple industries, and the effects of this are really, this is where the value is. Like I often see customers or our brands looking outward, clients looking at how do we decrease cost of acquisition and how do we get more from Facebook budget and whatnot. And in reality, the biggest kind of treasure and the biggest opportunities sit internally. They already have a lot of first-party data. It's just not really utilized first because perhaps the maturity isn't there yet, and a lot of brands need the guidance, and specialized vendors like this and our kind of consulting partners are absolutely there for that. So I think with that, I can kind of conclude a short intro of Meiro. I think, Gandhi, I've got a couple questions here for you, if I may, opening it up, and I'll also in the meantime check the chats. You mentioned a really complex data and kind of customer maturity matrix, like a framework. Really interesting. Can I ask kind of where do you see on that grid an average brand in the maybe European and MENA region, like as you kind of cover wider territory, like where do you see different levels of maturity?
Yep. So I won't name specifically how it changed over the counties, but in general, I see all the customers that I engage with, and they have interest in advancing as soon as possible in their journey. Some of them, they believe they have already a very mature data foundation, but once we do the assessments, we discover even in terms of tech stack, they have different type of databases where they store part of the customer story. And that's even another challenge. Even within the IT buckets or the IT landscape, they have different systems storing different piece of data. So that brings us to the square number one. Some of the customers, they want to focus mainly on their digital experiences. So they have app, web experiences, and they want just to focus on this streamline that accelerates the story. Like, for example, if we want to implement a CDP on top of that, we can bring like, AWS partner solutions like Meiro, implements our pixels and SDKs and able accelerate directly to the modernized stage. Now, when you're talking about automate, till now, I have only few cases where I see customers and organizations, they are able to automate on the AI stage of the automation that I was speaking about in the maturity. So some of the engagements that I have recently talk about agentic AIs and how you can leveraging your customer data that you modernize using the CDP and you have the unified view to enhance these conversations and leveraging these touch points to personalize your conversations, for example. It's still on the early stage, I believe, in the automation layer. If we go between the, let's say, in the EMEA region as a region, I split it into not into sub-regions, but mainly more in terms of size of organizations. Enterprise always, they tried many examples. I've seen like, many enterprises, they went and they licensed certain SaaS technologies such as CDP for a couple of years, then churn because they were not able to implement it in the right solutions or maybe for compliance reasons and flexibility. And then they pause their projects. Then after a couple of months, they reinitiate another CDP conversations because that's the need, especially in large enterprise organizations. So it's very distributed type of customer types, but overall we see more on the between the data foundations and modernized customer base.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's the size of a company really makes sense. Look, we are coming to the top of the hour very quickly. So one last question. I think that's on everyone's kind of a daily feeds. Agentic use cases, agentic AI. What have you seen implemented already with customers? I kind of really feel we're in a stage where everything is a wild proof of concept at this point. I don't think everything is fully productized. So what have you seen interesting that caught your attention in recent weeks?
So my perception, to be honest, is changing very quickly. Earlier this year, I was talking still in the stage of, okay, we see POCs, maybe very small use case implemented here and there, but still a lot of conditional agents available in the markets. But recently, I started to expose myself to certain advancements that are really mind-blowing. So the core use case I've seen just the last week, and I've worked on it exactly. It's around lead enrichment use case. So you can talk about it regardless of industry. Let's say FSI, a bank, for example, they are promoting certain, let's say, products such as loans or credit cards. When you land on these pages, and specifically if you are leveraging customer data available within your CDP, you are able to start to pop up these conversations as quickly as possible, powered by a large knowledge base of offerings, products, right? So what type of loans you have, what type of credit cards, what fit the customers based on the recommendation engines available within the organization as well. And then start to probe more and more for qualifying this lead. And also the agent is able to ask about first-party data if it's not known. because even though that we know this customer's email or phone number, we need to get this consent that we will pass this data to our CRM to communicate with a salesperson, or let's say the bank. The integration with the CRM is even like very smooth. I was exposed to the, I'm not sure if you heard about Strands Agents SDK. It's an SDK, open source SDK released by Amazon. It gives you, it's a code first framework to build agents, very agile, very handy. It leverages Bedrock's capabilities such as model selections, knowledge bases, out of the box, and as well guardrails. And it comes with around 20 pre-built tools, and you can bring your own tools. So imagine that I want to integrate with Meiro. The integrations can leveraging HTTP request tools. So you just speak natural English to query customer data and as well to enrich the profile back based on this conversation, for example. I invite everyone that to have a look about this SDKs and also about Amazon Bedrock agents as another approach. It's a really fun time. This use case was built in a week. That's why I'm saying in the next couple of months, we will see an exponential number of agents coming out. And now more data are coming out, because every conversation, that means more data to be enriched in the back in the customer profile. So this is another challenge we have to solve. This is a new touch point that we didn't get used to collect data from. It's just bring data to the conversation. So now I believe we have even more challenges with this agentic approach to solve.
Yeah, it creates more complexity, and it's interesting.
Yeah.
Look, I think we'll maybe leave this as a cliffhanger. We'll be in about 3 weeks. We'll be doing another webinar where we'll be for the first time publicly showcasing the AI use cases directly within Meiro. We have a couple of agents that we are training and building out for different tasks within the CDP, within the customer data, which is super interesting. And the feedback for it that we had from private customers was super positive. So we're fine tuning things before we put it out into public, and it will be about 3 weeks time. So we'll follow up with everyone who was here today, and then everyone on our mailing list. Yani, thank you so much for today. This was super informative. Really interesting to see how kind of the big strides that AWS is making into kind of marketing space and outside of its traditional domains. Just shows the extreme power and the coverage. And we're really excited to be partnering with you, and ultimately all of us helping customers and brands in our region. So thank you for your time today. It was really interesting, and sure to see you another time.
Perfect. Thank you, Pavel, for having me, and thank you for the audience. Bye-bye.